subscribers, followers, readers, fellow Americans, I want to make sure that as these events unfold, that in all of the noise of Epstein files, of snatching away healthcare, uh, parades of abuses, these attacks on our legislators calling for their executions, that we don't miss a very, very important event unfolding. The Trump administration, by many accounts, now has issued an ultimatum to Ukraine to sign on to a capitulation to accommodate Russia's peace plan, which is a maximalist peace plan, taking away swaths of Ukrainian territory without any guarantees for peace. I'm going to use some terms here. They sound like they could be loaded, exaggerated, but I think they're appropriate. Russian agent, collusion, uh, collaboration. What do these terms mean in this context? In this context, we know that the Trump administration has been working with top Russian actors, whether it's President Putin directly, whether it's his representative on this topic of Ukraine negotiations, Kirill Dmitriev, to carve out a peace plan that is intended to not protect Ukraine, not protect the Europeans, but very much focused on enriching Trump. Is this a new pattern or a strange pattern? No. We know that the Trump administration has violated the Constitution and the Emoluments Clause by seeking to enrich itself, whether it's for a $400 million jet, 747 that the U.S. People are going to be paying for, and that the president's going to use, or the billions of dollars coming in from deals with Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, in which Trump colluded with bin Salman to cover up for the murder of a U.S. resident and a journalist, critic of the Saudi Arabian regime. What I think what we're seeing here is a clearer pattern of the Russians understanding how to ingratiate themselves and co-opt Trump and the administration as Russian agents. What they are now conducting, and if you look at this 28-point plan, is something that specifically caters to deliver billions of dollars to U.S. Reconstruction enterprises, but almost certainly preferred actors like the Trump enterprise, the Trump, corruption, Trump Corruption Incorporated, to be able to enrich to the tune of billions of dollars. This is not speculative. If you look at the peace plan, it carves out $100 billion for projects that the Russians and the U.S. administration would work on collaboratively, both in Russia, and another $100 billion in reconstruction in Ukraine, and the Europeans would kick in $100 billion. We're talking about enormous sums of money that the Trump administration and Steve Witkoff are looking to cash in on. This is, again, a pattern of a Trump administration that over the course of 10 months, Trump has quadrupled his net worth, has siphoned off and directed funds to his own personal enterprises. What does this mean? We know the corruption angle. It's pretty clear. We know the pattern of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Russia catering directly to Trump and his desire to self-enrich. But what does this mean for U.S. national security? It means great perils. It means that Ukraine, according to this plan, would give up territory that the Russians don't currently occupy in exchange for ambiguous, at best, security guarantees. It would freeze the front right now, with Russia retaining about almost 20% of Ukraine's territory, with no mechanism for negotiations, really kind of a long-term peace settlement that delineates the border. The term that they use is de facto, which means the current reality, not de jure, that all parties accept the terms in perpetuity. So this is a recipe for future confrontation. It throws not just Ukraine under the bus, which has clear U.S. national security implications for us because it encourages Russia to be aggressive and to probe and see where other vulnerabilities are. It also encourages China to recognize that even after 4 years of war, you could actually achieve your aims, seize territory with acceptable consequences. But it's also the Europeans. The Europeans are in great danger because this will encourage Russia to do what it's been doing repeatedly, whether it's lasing a UK plane that's monitoring Russian intelligence gathering operations, or going into Estonian or Polish territory with drones and planes. It's going to compel Russia to believe that it can act with impunity and push further. I think the other factors here are that in a lot of ways, this looks like a non starter. This 28-point plan has what are called poison pills, things that are intentionally meant to derail the prospects of peace. And Putin's doing this intentionally so that it is on Ukraine for not accepting these absurd peace terms. What Putin and his U.S. agents, Witkoff and Trump, are proposing are, in fact, Ukraine giving up additional territory, larger cities that Russia doesn't control, opening up a deeply vulnerable path towards the center of Ukraine, towards the capital of Kiev, and again, with little to no peace. Russia would get its sanctions lifted. Ukraine would maybe get a frozen conflict where the border is kind of locked in for the foreseeable future in this vulnerable situation. No security guarantees. Unclear whether Ukraine really gets anything with regards to additional arms to better defend itself. And really, the Europeans are not part of this. Now, the Europeans have already said that they're not on board with this peace plan. They were not consulted on this peace plan. It has direct implications on their security. So I think this is just a very, very savvy maneuver to manipulate Trump. Another term, this is a loaded term, as a useful idiot, as somebody easily manipulated based on self-service, on profit, to be able to side with Russia and cast Ukraine off and freeze Ukraine out, no longer receiving any of the aid. Even the this arms sales arrangement where Europe can buy on behalf of Ukraine, that would be thrown off. And frankly, the next step potentially could be even sanctions. You could see the administration pivot in this direction. This is a kind of a pretty shocking turn of events on the back of an election. This past November, just weeks ago, in which the population rejected Trump's approach. Now, the rejection was in New Jersey, and in Virginia, but you could extrapolate from those states, Virginia being a purple state, that this is a broad rejection of Trump's approach, abandoning our allies, sowing chaos, enriching himself and his elites at the cost of our security, at the cost of Americans' safety net services. So I expect that you could see some Republicans peel away, but it's a dangerous place we find ourselves in. I'll have more to say about this. I'll end up doing a interview here on this later today, but I wanted to get this out. It's critically important that the American public understand this turn. Write your senators, write your congressmen, Democrats, Republicans. Tell them that you reject this approach. It is dangerous for U.S. national security in Europe, around the world. It is a corrupt scheme, and that we do not accept this demand, this collusion, and this demand for the Ukrainians to capitulate to Russia. Thank you. Thanks for listening in, and please take action.